Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, Call It Crew, and welcome to another episode. This one's got a little holiday feeling to it.
A little holiday shimmy,
Yeah.
a little shimmy shake,
Yeah.
a little sparkle,
Sparkle.
Yuletide joy.
Who do we have on to talk about one of my favorite things? You guys, I'm addicted. You probably already noticed to holiday movies, and we're going to be talking about one today.
We're going to be talking about holiday movies. We're going to be talking about all of our favorite Grey's Anatomy episodes and how Grey's Anatomy has done what it does so well for so long with an actor. First, he was an actor on the show, and then he ended up becoming a writer, and
Hmm.
then simultaneously um, became a fan favorite also as an actor on a little show called Scandal.
Yeah.
I am so excited to bring on Dan Bucatinsky.
Yes. Bring him in.
Hi, it's
Hello.
been too long.
It's been too long.
We're talking about Grey's Anatomy, you guys.
Yes,
Everyone, Dan was a writer, and you acted on the show too. You're on our
I
show.
acted on the show before your character. I acted on the show season seven, no, season six. I can't remember.
I came season 5, so maybe right after that.
I did an episode, and then 2 years later, I joined the writing staff part-time while I was acting on Scandal.
Okay, and I just feel like we need to just give this due respect. So we're talking to Dan Bucatinsky, who honestly, I think I just knew of you because you are one of the people that I would describe as multifaceted, multi-connected, and sort of ubiquitous. It's sort of like Dan's everywhere. Like, of course he is.
Yes.
Of course he's next to you in line, grabbing a juice. Of course he's on set with you and now a writer. Of course he's at the fabulous party with his husband, having a fabulous time with their beautiful children. Like, you just were everywhere. So then when you came to the show and then were acting, and then we were so excited to have you around, but then you got to become an actor, a writer. I was like, I didn't even know that you also wrote. So now you're writing and acting. And I would just be so excited when you came to set because we don't always get the writers on set
Mm,
because you guys have to go to your room and make the magic. But you were always, I think, an
yeah.
actor favorite for set visits and being on set patrol.
I feel like that's why they sent Dan out. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you
I
wanted to
wanted to
like
hang with you.
yeah, spilling the tea, coming up with all
And
our ideas and thoughts about all the shenanigans that were happening in the world.
yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Lots of shenanigans, both on set and off. But I also loved, look, I'm an actor first, writer second, but I've been writing for 25 years. And, and the opportunity to be on set and produce episodes either that I was part of writing or that were other writers' stuff, but to connect with the actors, talk about the work, but also gossip about everything else.
Yes.
You know, we all have mutual friends. Camilla, I think I was there at the season that introduced your character.
You were.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
You were definitely there that season. So
It
I
was
just knew you
exciting.
as like, yes, you were there. That's why I'm saying Jess. Like for me, you were OG. Like you were you were one of the original writers. You were there. And then they stole you. Scandal stole you.
Scandal stole
Well,
you.
but I'm telling you, writing on Grey's Anatomy for a
Hmm.
hypochondriac was such a bad idea. Do you know that every morning, as not that this is not that you asked, but I'll just tell you very quickly. When
Yeah.
you're a writer on Grey's Anatomy, every morning at 6 in the morning, at least back then, you would receive an email called the Morning Medical. And the Morning Medical was like the researchers would find some incredible real story of something that happened to someone for real somewhere. You know,
That
horrible
you
thing.
hadn't even yet imagined could happen and put on your worry list yet.
No, and I had little
So you just had
kids
to add it.
and there's so many of you were pediatric. I don't
I
remember what your
know.
specialties are as the doctors that you are on the show, but so many were pediatric surgeons. So
Mhm.
many of the stories were pediatric in nature. So all I would do is wake up in a fit of anxiety, like, oh my God, now I have that to worry about.
Yeah, yeah, that was pretty much me. You can blame me for that. That was me back in the day in peds. And
Yeah.
I it had the opposite effect for me when the stories would come up because I knew they were because by the time they got to us, they were fiction.
Yeah,
I could just say this is made up.
right,
And then
right.
I would just ignore the fact that it had come from a real story. And I'd
That's
be like,
right.
this is fake blood and this is an actor playing a sick child. And so this is
100%.
all make believe.
100%. I
Yeah.
I recently, like last year, I think I did 2 episodes of Chicago Med as as somebody coming into the ER, covered in blood. And I was just, it was such an acid flashback to being on set of Grey's and knowing how the donuts are made, but then from a completely different point of view. It was very interesting.
Is there an episode that comes top of
Yeah.
mind for you that you loved so much being a part of?
On Grey's,
On Grace.
Yeah.
there are a bunch. I mean, there's one that I was involved
Just
in
pick your
writing.
favorite that includes me.
Oh my God, my favorite
There
that
we
includes
go.
you. I can't remember.
Dan, it doesn't have to include Jess.
There were so many. There were 24 season times the two. That's 50 episodes that I was
I was
involved
trying
in.
to help him narrow it down, Camilla.
I know.
So if he just thought of me, if he focused on looking at my face, Dan, look at my
Listen,
face.
you know I love you, and you know where you were
What?
one of my favorites. Both of you were. I mean, Camilla, I was
One.
just meeting for the first time, and you
Yeah.
were like deer in headlights the whole first season. You were sort of like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot. It's
It
a
was a
lot.
lot.
That set is not,
That's why I
it's
didn't
a
like her.
huge, yeah, Jessica didn't like me. There was a huge ensemble and you guys were so well established. It was an intimidating to be the new intern class. And
Mm-hmm.
our fandom have very strong feelings about new people on our show. You got to really win them over.
you have to earn their trust.
You know who intimidated me the
Yeah.
most was working with Chandra and Sandra.
Chandra did not ever intimidate me. She
Oh,
was just
you're
so
so
warm
lucky.
and yummy to me.
Well, she is. She's the nicest and the yummiest, but she's so good.
oh, yeah.
And like, so she would say her lines, and I wouldn't even know she was acting yet. Like, oh, we're
she's
starting.
excellent.
I mean, like, she's that good. I think I was just intimidated by
talent.
she's just, and also she, as I've said this before, but Chandra knows everything. She knows her lines, she knows your lines, she knows where the props should be, she knows the orientation of the story, where you are in it. And so I was intimidated by the fact that she knew it all. And Sandra Oh, kind of the same way. Like,
Yeah.
Sandra's such a deep, she analyzes each script and she's got it all. Like, I mean, looking at her script was like a piece of art. And
I know.
also like a journal. Like, it was so deeply like personal, and she just is the hardest worker. And I also like a journal. Like, it was so deeply like personal, and she just is the hardest worker. And I mean, intimidated or inspired, I guess. I guess
Yeah.
both.
Sandra and I were in a movie together 10 years earlier called Under the Tuscan Sun. We had no scenes
Oh.
together in the movie, but we became best friends. So then I was writing on Grey's and we had a shorthand, but her script was like dog-eared
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
every other page with
Yeah.
like thoughts. And it
Yeah.
was intimidating, like as a writer, even just to be like, all right, that you're asking really good questions and we need to
Yeah.
answer them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She really is.
I think it helped me to be coming from both points of view. I mean, I didn't love, how I wound up on a medical show, given my feelings about medicine in general, was just crazy. And then I wound up writing the most ridiculous episode based on a true story about a magician who sawed his assistant in half as part of the show, but actually sawed her in half. Were either of you in that episode?
Yeah, I was there. I don't know what I was
I
doing.
don't know.
in that episode.
I
was
don't know
there.
if I didn't deal with that medical. If I would
It was
remember that.
crazy medical.
Are you telling me that you did Scandal before you came to Grey's?
No.
No, it was simultaneous.
Right,
you know what
okay.
happened? I did the first season of Scandal, 3 episodes, and I took a meeting with Betsy and Shonda and Joan and Tony, the showrunners at the time, and they were like, "We want you to write on the writing staff." And I was like, "Great, I'm excited about that." But if there's any chance that this character is going to come back on Scandal, I certainly don't want to shoot myself in the foot
Yeah.
and take this job and not be able to do that. And
Wait,
Shonda
can I
just
guess
looked-
what came next? You became like a fan favorite on Scandal. Isn't that what happened next?
No, what happened next is Shonda said, "We know where to find you. If you're at Grey's, I'll know where to find you." That's literally what she said.
Oh, so
She
she
said,
just
"Don't-
occupied you.
Don't worry about it. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
if you're gonna consult on. I was consulting anyway. It was like technically a consultant is like 3 days a week, but you can work as many days. You work half days or full days or
Yeah.
5 days, and then you miss 2 days the next week. If you're going to be consulting on Grey's, we'll know where to find you. And season 2, they used me again, and season 2 is when the show really exploded. The audience really connected to it. The whole the whole live tweet movement
Oh my
happened
gosh.
at the beginning of season 2,
Yeah.
which got people to watch appointment TV Thursday nights for Scandal. And I remember the fall of that year of season two, something had changed. I would be walking in New York and I felt a visceral change that I could not have predicted. It was just like people were watching the show, and people really responded to this kind of normal guy who this monster Jeff Perry's character was married to. So I did both. I bounced back and forth all the time. And my character would get two scenes in an episode, and I'd shoot them out, and then I'd be at Grey's the rest of the time.
That's so
You were
I
so
do
good.
remember. I remember the TGIT happening, right?
Yeah.
Where the lineup was all Shonda, and that did
Yes,
just
yes,
that
I
whole
do.
thing explode. I mean, that exploded.
It did.
It took on a life of its own.
And Scott Foley had been on our show and he was
Yeah.
on that show. And I knew Carrie from like early days meeting her when we were all starting out. And I just knew her to be such a kind and wonderful person. And then I remember when you guys started doing the live tweeting because we weren't doing it. And we were
But
like,
then you
what
had
are they
to.
doing? And then
Well,
we
they
were,
saw
we
what
were
happened with
inspired
Scandal.
to.
Yeah.
They're
And
like,
you could see what was happening.
yeah.
And then I also remember, I remember, and I'm sure that I attacked you with questions because I was like, what is going on over there? Because everyone in the Scandal cast was like, they were the happiest, most
Yeah.
hardworking,
Family.
just family. And it was I mean, believe you me, there was a moment where I was like, this can't be true. This is too much. This
Yeah.
is just too much. You can't handle this. This is too much too much. I just love my job. I just love my job so much. I love working 24 hours a day. But it was actually true. And I remember asking and like really, really like putting people's feet to the fire. Like ones that I had real relationships, I'd like pick them off from the pack and be like, so really, tell me what's up. Like, you don't really like them that much, right? And they'd all be like, I love them. I love
Yeah.
them. And I was like, okay, great. This is amazing.
It was weird. It was weird. It was a kind of Kool-Aid. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't really understand. I always say this, I credit Carrie with it because you really
Mhm.
do. It does start there always.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then how that trickles down and the culture that starts to form, and everybody was really grateful for their jobs, and the writing
Yeah.
was really good, and the scenes that we got to do, and everybody was very, very close. Even people who, Josh Molina was a total prankster, and he would come to set like armed to create problems, but in
Mayhem.
a joking way. And and he's really cynical, and even he got sucked into the cult of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And we're all still very close.
I know. I was going to say, you can tell it's real because years later, you're
Yeah.
not having to do a press tour together and like bullshit it. Like you guys really do still love each other. I mean, I saw Carrie's picture for Halloween and she's like, she did the challengers for Halloween with the boys.
Yeah.
And it's so like, you guys are still so close.
We're very, very close. And I'm close to people who I never had a scene with in 30 episodes. Like I did 30 episodes of Scandal, and not one time was I on screen with Katie Lowe's.
I
And
love
Katie
Katie.
is one of my closest friends.
She's great. She's great.
She's great.
Yeah.
Well, you all got very lucky because for different reasons, when we would do crossovers or we would do press or we would do like the big photo shoots or whatever. I mean, again, every single person in your cast was so welcoming, so kind. I remember the strongest note that I felt being around you all was that everyone seemed so grateful. And everyone was a
Yeah.
grown up, right? Like everybody had been
Yeah.
on other shows, they'd
Yes.
done other things, and then they'd come to this
Mhm.
show as like knowing who they were and being really grateful for their job, knowing what it takes to make a show a hit, which is no small feat.
You hit it on the head. I mean, that's 100% what it is. I was in my 40s when I got that gig, and I had been in LA for 20 years trying to have that kind of like trying to get a break like that. I was just a guest star, by the way, for all 29 episodes, but I was so grateful for getting to do that material. Jeff Perry had been on Grey's Anatomy and he had been on series before, but was really grateful to get to dive into that kind of material. Everybody was a grown up, and Grey's 47 years ago when it started, they were everybody, as you know, and even Camilla, even when you started, like the whole premise of the show were interns. It's like you're getting people in their 20s And how a 27-year-old is going to react to their first big series as opposed to a 37-year-old, as opposed to a 47-year-old
Yeah.
is just different.
Yeah.
And there's been so much turnover. But what do you accredit the longevity of Grace to? Not that I
Oh.
am allowed to ask any questions, but I do
Yeah,
want
you
to.
know it. This is a equal opportunity.
Streaming, I think, streaming really, I came
Oh,
on it in season 9, right? And I think it just is one of those shows that exploded and hit the other generations I want to say around season 11 or 12 was when I started to notice like, oh, it's really getting, in fact, our numbers came in today and we're in the top 10 of streaming still. I think it's just hitting new generations.
you're right. Hitting a new generation is the key because after 10 seasons, suddenly the 9-year-olds who are now 19 who
Yes,
want to binge Grey's Anatomy are your new fans for the next 20 years. It
exactly.
will live on forever.
Well, so that's sort of more the business part of it, but I believe that the magic of Grey's Anatomy is I was a fan first because I wasn't on it. But I appointment televisioned it. I watched
Yep.
it on Sunday when it first came out on Sunday nights,
Mm.
and then I got to be on it. And now I am not on it, but I watch it from afar. And I think that the magic has always been this incredible circumstance of a world that has implicit, incredibly high stakes because it's life or death every day, right?
Hmm.
And then these wonderful actors, these grounded, real, like incredible casting. By the way, speaking back, I mean, when you say Jeff, I can't not think of Linda. So it's like the casting was always so phenomenal. These
Yep.
very grounded, very real actors. And then these high arching, crazy stories that were like, again, the Shondaland roller coaster, right? The kind of
Yeah.
storylines that you see on soap operas. Just like, I
Correct.
mean, unbelievable. Like, no way. It can't be her twin sister.
But you're talking about sawing someone in half. That's a
Yeah.
real story, and
Yeah.
we get to play with it.
Yeah.
Right, except what you're saying is totally true. The balancing act of some crazy medical story that, like, where you're going to watch this group of people that you're already invested in, like, replace the heart of this person and the heart's. I mean, I used to love the episodes where the helicopter would land and that somebody would hand the cooler with the
Yeah.
organ, and you'd run down the stairs and you'd be in the
Yeah. Yeah.
elevator with the organ of somebody who had to have that organ within the next 8 seconds. And
Yeah.
yet you're in the elevator with your ex-boyfriend. And
Yeah.
so suddenly that elevator ride,
Yeah.
despite the medical tension and stakes,
And music playing that you can't hear.
how come you
Yeah.
didn't call me back last night? Like
Yeah.
the
Yes.
brilliance of merging that level of intimate, romantic,
Yeah.
personal drama with real high stakes life or death drama is just genius.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
always have a new intern class. That
Yeah,
turnover is like it's fresh for new stories and new
it's
love
so
interests.
smart.
And yeah, it just works.
My secret dream as an actor, and has been for maybe it started around Grey's. I want to wear a lab coat on a show so badly. I so badly wanted to be a visiting doctor who then comes back on Grey's. And of course, like my episode, I was the spouse of somebody in a hospital bed. And I was like, how's that guy ever going to wind up? I was like, wait a minute. Maybe he goes off to college,
Yeah.
gets his medical degree, and he comes back in 3 years and he's a doctor. But then I was on Scandal and got murdered horribly. And there was no way that I was going to wind up in that world ever again. But there's something about playing somebody who can get to do the duality of a love story and the high stakes of life saving. That's kind of aspirational.
Wait, I
Yeah.
don't know why you have decided that you couldn't come back on our show.
Because I played a character, and like the super fans are going to be like, that's the husband of the opera
Maybe
singer.
the husband left and went and got
Is
his
that the
medical degree.
rule? Like in the world, like you can't play. I mean, no,
I
this
don't
can't be
know.
the rule because we have merit. Like we have people on both shows.
Yes,
Meg,
for
if you're
sure.
listening, Dan needs the lab coat.
Dan wants to come in as a visiting dermatologist or
There you
visiting
go.
surgeon in the areas of.
Yeah, pitch it now, Dan.
There you go.
Pitch it now.
There you
I'm
go.
all for it. I would love it with all my heart, especially to get to see you guys again. Wait, Jess, are you? Am I?
I'm not on it anymore.
But were you
Well,
just? Weren't you
Oh,
just
sorry.
on?
Yes, I went. Yes, I mean, listen, it's always going to be. I will always go back. Yes, I went back last year.
Okay, I thought so. I thought
Yeah, and
so.
it was so much fun. It was so much fun. And also I got to like rewrite my departure. I got to go back and like have a wonderful time and not be
I love
sad.
that. I love
Yeah.
Yeah.
that. And it's just I have such relationships. Like Kim Raver and I have been friends because I was a writing producer on a show called Lipstick Jungle that she
Oh,
was
yes.
on NBC in
I didn't know that.
2008, right? 2008, so 4
Kim has
years
also
before.
been everywhere. Kim's been on so
Yeah,
many
Kim has been
shows.
everywhere.
Yes, Kim's been everywhere.
I want to talk about this holiday movie that you've done
Okay.
because, well, first of all, I have eyeballs and ears, and so I've experienced like Lindsay Lohan, and I watched every single month, like all of her things. So she's in it, and then also Kristen Chenoweth, who's
I
just
know.
a sister. Did you get to work with her?
Talk about suspension of disbelief. I play Kristen's husband, and we don't have a great marriage. I'll just spoiler alert, but this is like a fun Christmas rom-com that's got a little bit of Meet the Fockers in it because it's all about this family Christmas reunion where the
Hmm.
parents, played by me and Kristen Chenoweth, have our children, grown children, come home with their boyfriend and girlfriend. And it just so happens that their boyfriend and girlfriend used to date
To
and
date.
have a history. And that's Ian Harding and Lindsay Lohan. So the show is really about, I didn't know this term until recently. You know, meet cute, right? We used to write them
Yes,
all
I
the
meet
time on
cute.
Grey's Anatomy. This is a meet ugly. Apparently, when people when two people have a history and they hate each other and they were like, I never wanted to see you again, and they meet in a rom-com, it's called a meet ugly.
I've never heard that term.
Well, it looks like from the trailer that Kristen plays sort of like a little. She's a little grumpy, a little thorny, a little. What is she? She's got some rough edges.
She is not the nicest. She's not the nicest, most welcoming to Lindsay Lohan. And a lot of the movie's tension has to do with Lindsay trying to stay in her good graces.
Mm.
That's a big premise of the movie. And as my wife, she definitely puts me in my place. Listen, I bounce around in the movie. I appear here and there, and then I have this incredible scene with a huge secret of my own, which is not what you think it is. It's not what
Cannot
I
wait.
it's not even what I thought it was going to be when they offered it to me. It's a bigger secret than that, but it's a very fun movie where everyone in it sort of is hanging on to something that you find out by the end.
Well, I cannot wait to watch it.
Well, wait, we have to say the name of it. You haven't even said the name of it. It's
Oh,
called
Our
Our
Little
Little
Secret,
Secret. Yes.
November
Our Little Secret
27th.
on Netflix.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for Christmas movies, Dan.
Ooh,
I
they're so
cannot
good.
tell you. And Lindsay we do have to talk about Lindsay for a second. She's having this renaissance.
Yes,
She looks incredible.
she does.
I was always a fan of Lindsay. I'm so excited. I feel like she's really back. She's doing
Yeah.
amazing work. She looks incredible. She's always been super talented. I watched another Christmas movie of hers last year.
I like her voice. It's always like been kind of like that gravelly, like Lindsay
Yeah, she's got
Lohan.
a little bit of the
Got the
gravelly,
gravel.
like smoky.
Yeah.
She's fabulous.
I wish I was cool like that.
I love it so much. Jessica, you were in a Netflix Christmas movie Holiday with Kristen,
I was.
and she was fantastic. So funny.
She played my Aunt Susan. She is such a hoot and a holler.
She is.
And she's coming on the show too. And she cracks me up because we became dear friends. And then when you're friends with Kristen Chenoweth, what ends up happening is she does not text as much as she sends me videos.
Yeah,
She sends me videos from all kinds of places. Some places you would not think someone would send you a video from them, but she will send you a video from them.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. And
Funny.
she's always like, you're my sister, and honey, we need to do a movie together. We're gonna find something. That's how she talks to me.
I know.
And she'll tell me all about her day in detail.
That's laughing.
I get videos when she's gone to sleep. She's gone to sleep and the lights are out and it's completely dark and all
Yeah.
I see are just the hints of two little eyes.
Yep.
And she's like, "Hi, husband.
Yeah.
I'm so tired."
Hmm.
Because she
Oh my
works
God.
like nobody. But we got very close. She's got the biggest heart of anybody
Oh,
on the
she's the
planet.
best.
And we had a great time. We ad-libbed like crazy. We really tried to fill what this completely dysfunctional marriage would really be like. And so there's little hints of that throughout the movie. We had a great time. Tim Meadows is in the movie as well. This hilarious John Rudnitsky is in the movie as my son. Um, and it's really fun. And Lindsay, I have to tell you, I also a huge fan.
Yeah.
When you see the work she did as a kid
Oh, I
Ugh.
know.
Oh my
in the
gosh.
movies, in
The
Parent Trap.
Parent Trap. Oh,
I just watched it with Hayden.
I watch it. I think I've seen
It's
it like
incredible.
95
I
times.
have too, but she's so talented. She's so innately talented. And so, and now she's got a kid of her own and she's
I
really
know.
settled down and it's really funny and she was a delight.
I
And you
love
know
it.
what? I mean, just naming it, talk about being a grown up. She's been through it. And I don't know because I haven't been following the press that she's done. I don't know if she's speaking to it, but I remember the meltdown days when just
Yeah.
things, I mean, she had such a huge level of fame and attention on her, and she was just trying to live her life, and life can be real messy sometimes. And when you're,
Guys, our 20s, 18 to 28 is
oh,
not an easy decade. It's just not.
no,
Imagine the amount of
no,
scrutiny
oh,
and then
no.
having to answer to it and having it all played out publicly. It's just not,
No, and you're usually not peaking then. Like
no,
that's not when we're peaking.
No, those are when you're in the trenches. You want to be able to make mistakes. You just need it not on the cover of People magazine.
that's exactly right. You
Yeah.
want to
Yeah,
be
yeah,
able to
yeah.
make your mistakes and
Yeah.
not. This is one of the reasons I started this thing on Instagram. If you follow me on Instagram, I do this thing called Failure Fridays, which is which is all about this idea that social media since its the beginning has become the place for the humble brag where you scroll all day long to see people with bodies better than yours and cappuccinos that look better than yours and the bread that's been baked better than yours and awards and dresses and red carpets, and it's all so fabulous, and it's easy to compare and despair. But the truth is, if we were to use social media a little bit more, all of us as a universe, to also share in our setbacks, our humiliations, our embarrassments, and our failures, we would realize that the path to success is paved with failures and embarrassments and setbacks. And so I started this thing, Failure Friday, where I encourage people to comment, tell their story, post hashtag Failure Friday.
I have so many. Where do I
Yeah.
start?
Well, that is part of the problem. Part of the problem is like, oh God, where I mean, I have my parenting fails, my relationship fails, my
Yeah.
professional fails. But the
Yeah.
truth is, all of them are also surrounded by these moments of triumph. And we don't all only triumph and we don't all only fail. It's just, we can't define ourselves wholly by one success or one failure. And so anyway, I'm encouraging people to embrace their setbacks. And then the comeback is so much more lovely. Like I think there's so much goodwill towards Lindsay, maybe because her setbacks were all so public.
I also think that if you're really paying attention and you're failing and you're succeeding and you're honest with yourself and you're naming it, you have a far better relationship with the success and with the failure. So you can have the median be a really nice and static okay. Like you're always going to go back to okay. You're going
Yes,
to get really high and you're going to go really low. By the way, if
that's
you're not
right.
making mistakes, you're not trying,
That's
right?
right.
So you got to try, and sometimes it'll work and sometimes it won't. I mean, it's interesting. I don't know why, but this morning I was talking to a friend about that experiment they did with the Olympians, the study with the those who win gold, silver, and bronze. And I don't know if you've seen it, but the greatest incidences of depression and suicide come from the silvers because they were just shy of being
Not
first.
quite. I've written pilots that have been so personal to me and have been like, I put my blood, sweat, and tears in them. And when they don't move forward, I'm like, oh my God, I'm never gonna, what's the
No,
point?
I know.
What's the point?
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
yeah.
I like and the sadness. I mean, I literally go boneless on the floor. I had one
Yeah.
happen maybe a year and a half ago, and it's the trailers are playing now. And Camilla, how many times have I sent you like screenshots of like okay, I'm gonna feel my feelings right
Yeah.
now between me
Yeah.
and the girl who got it. I'm real happy for her, but I'm real
Yeah.
sad for me and
Yeah.
all the things, right? And that's the thing also. It's like you want to recognize that you were competitive. You just didn't
Yes.
get it
You just didn't get it.
because you're
But
sometimes
if
not
you
gonna
let
get
that
it.
define you, if you're like, well, I lost, therefore I'm a
Yeah.
loser, therefore I'm not going to do
Yeah.
this again. I'm not doing this again. Like you definitely won't get another opportunity if you don't do it again.
Yeah, and
No, for
what I hear
sure.
Dan saying too, because I like this Failure Fridays, is when you're scrolling right now, people are only posting the gold medal moments, right?
Yeah.
And it's actually getting kind of movies. You're rooting for Rocky, right? Like Rocky isn't like at the top of his game. How boring is that story? You're rooting for like the growth of being a rock bottom and working your way up. I think it's so cool to I like the Failure Fridays. I think that Jess and I have gotten one of the things we've enjoyed about podcasting actually and doing this is that we've ended up sharing so much of our shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's been really therapeutic.
But listen to what you're doing. You're creating something that's a conversation that allows for that to be part of it.
Mm.
So something successful can come out of the conversation around something not so successful. It was very hard for me to do, I'll be honest with you. Like many actors, and certainly of my
Yeah.
age, I'm very reluctant to let people think that I'm flawed. I mean, obviously we all
Yeah.
are, but I'm saying like I don't want people to see I wear Spanx 24/7. Like I don't want to
Yeah.
let my Spanx out and let people see. And I did one Failure Friday where I was like challenging myself to do 5 pull-ups and I didn't make it. And I showed it on camera and it's really sad and hilarious, but really pathetic. You know what? It's only motivating me to try to just get stronger, and eventually I'll be able to pull up a bit. I can do underhand chin ups, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
them, but the
Right.
overhand,
Oh, it's very hard.
impossible.
Are you kidding? It's very hard. But you could start them with the little assist thing, the little rubber bands if you get them that the
Yes, the
assist is the
assist
way
is
to do
you
it.
know what? I gotta start doing that.
Because by the way, there's another lesson. Sometimes you just need help.
Yes,
Yes.
advocate.
Sometimes you can do the thing, you just need some help.
The
Sometimes you
assist
can do the
bands.
thing, you just need to ask for help. And it's not embarrassing to ask for help. It's
Oh
not. You
gosh,
think
no,
it
my gosh,
is.
I ask for help all the time. My mother, I don't know how this is possible. I actually don't have it on film, so I might need to have it on film. My mother can do a 5 minute plank.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my
No
God.
And
assist? No assist?
evidently no assist.
Oh, that's
That's
just
So,
rude.
incredible.
yeah,
Her core is steel.
I've gone back to the gym in the past, probably about 2.5 months ago with like real regularity. I'm holding myself accountable. And my goal is I want to do a 5 minute plank. And I'm just going to tell you right now, I have
What are
been
you
at it
at?
for the past 2.5 months and I'm only a minute and a half.
Yeah, but a minute and a half. You only have
Minutes.
3.5 to go.
Exactly.
You
But
started with 5 to go. You're 3.5.
and it's been humbling. It's been all the things we're talking about. And obviously it's a silly example, but it's just, the things that make you stronger, but also remind you that you have room to grow and a weakness that needs to be developed and also inspiration and you have help and all the things. I love talking to you. I miss having you in my
Will you
life,
tell your
Dan.
mom that I say hello?
Of
I'm not going to
course
get
I
into
will.
it, but your mother was incredibly helpful to me.
Mm.
You know what? I can't talk about it because I don't want to get
Oh,
choked up,
you'll
but
start crying.
we had, yeah, we had a particularly rough period with our I'm the
Life.
parent of teenagers now. They don't
Yeah.
tell you what to expect when you're expecting is that
Yeah.
eventually those babies are going to become teenagers. Don't listen to
Yeah.
this, Camilla.
Yeah.
Oh God, I know I'm listening so intently, Dan. I'm like, tell me.
We had some challenges in the teenage years,
Yeah.
we're two dads and navigating our daughter through those things. And your mom was incredibly helpful to me. So please just tell her I say hello, and I
Oh.
hold that very close to my heart. Are we allowed to talk about the unspeakable, which is
Oh, we've talked about it. I know where you're going.
Anatomy of a Lie?
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh, yes, we have.
Yeah. We can add
I need
on.
to just tell you something. I'm coming to you with when I met my
Okay.
husband 30
Yeah.
years ago, he was taking care of a woman who was dying of cancer, who had lost all of her hair. And 5 of us came around, 6 of us galvanized around her for an entire year and took her to chemo and bought her everything and paid her rent and bathed her. And I mean, horrible things that we did. And it was all a lie. Good night, everybody. It was all a lie, the
There's
entire
more
thing.
than one person
There's
who would
more
do
than
that.
one. This is
My
what we've
point is,
talked about.
obviously when I came back to the
Cringy.
when I came back to the writer's room of Grey's to visit all my buddies in the year that she started on Grey's the year after I left. Maybe even my slot went to her. And I went into that writer's room to say hi to Tia and the whole gang. And I met her, and she was wearing a scarf on her head, and she obviously had lost her hair, and she really she did a number, and I was riveted by that documentary. Obviously, I have a
When
connection
you
to.
met her, was there any part of you that was like, she's a little odd?
No, well, yes, she was a little odd.
But never, did you ever not believe? I mean, that's what I was saying when we talked about it. I said there was never a moment where I would have thought to
It's
say,
a perfect crime. People ask us that all the time. Like, how did you guys all fall for it? I'm like, fall for it? When will you ever, when someone tells you that they have been
mm,
diagnosed with cancer, would you ever say to them, prove it?
yeah,
Who are you
never.
as a
Yeah.
person if you say that to someone?
No, no,
Dan,
no,
did you
no.
find out the news that it was not true from the article or because of whispers?
Um, I'm very good friends with Krista and a lot of the gang, the old OG original Grey's Anatomy folk. So I think I heard it from them first, but it was around the time that the article was bubbling up. So I didn't hear it early. I heard it
Mm.
around the same time.
And you watched the documentary?
And I watched the documentary,
Did
and
you
it's
watch all three parts? I
I
only,
sure did. And I have to tell you, it's so much more disturbing than what we experience because
Mhm.
it goes so far beyond
Yeah,
the illness. Like lying about the illness is like a fraction
I
of
know.
what the
Yeah,
larger story is, and
yeah.
it's extremely upsetting.
Yeah.
And I to you who had a very strong relationship, and I can only
Hmm.
imagine, and I just
Hmm.
know what all I know is I can imagine because I experienced it also with somebody else.
That's insane that there's somebody else. We have talked about this a little on the pod before, but I said to Jess, I went into the first episode not knowing what it was like. It came out and I was like, nobody had talked to me about it. And I was like, with my husband, I'll just watch the first one. And it was like watching myself in a Dateline episode. I had no idea how much I would be in it. And it was so jarring that I have not watched Beyond.
Oh,
Um, but it is interesting always to talk to other people. It's not many of us that were part of this insane story.
I have compassion for those with mental illness. This particular one takes down so many people that I have a very hard time like drumming up the compassion only because I experienced it and I feel like 9 months of my life, my compassion for another individual was squandered. But that said, much like Munchausen, where you are making yourself sick, actually making yourself sick in order to get cared for, the lying about events in your life, the lying about drama and or illness in order to bring people towards you is a phenomenon that is far more common than we think. And it's very upsetting.
You're talking, and I was just reminded of something that I can't believe I didn't talk about when we were talking about liars. Maybe, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago, Christopher got a message through some platform when he was at Honest about a young woman who was dealing with a disease that she was going to die. She was going to die soon. And her favorite show was Grey's, and she just wanted to talk to me. And so we got her number and I called her and I was on the phone with her for about 45 minutes because it wasn't just illness, but there had been abuse and there had been
Abuse.
and 45 minutes of listening to her and then we went to get off the phone and she was saying that she was meant to die any day, like she was in hospice and it was happening. And she said, if I'm here tomorrow, would you be able to talk to me one more time? And I said, absolutely. So the next day I get
Oh my God.
messaged, I'm still here, can you talk? I call her, we talk, and I don't know what it was at minute 32 that just was like,
Something.
there's just something off. Like I didn't know what it was, but it's just something that was off. And I ended it just like I had the day before. Like, I'm sending so much love and I'm so glad that I was able to be here for you. And I hung up and I called the person that in my life helps check on these kinds of things. And I said, I just have a feeling that this something's not right. I'm going to give you the phone number and I'm going to give you all the documentation of how this came to me and everything else. Full blown lie.
No, but guess what? She got to talk to Jessica Capshaw.
Yeah.
So bonkers.
Dan, how did you find out that you're the person you were taking care of? How did you find out that that was not true?
Not to plug something again, but I'm going to plug
But do
something.
it.
My book, Does This Baby Make Me Look Straight, is a story of how Don and I became parents. But chapter 2, if you just listen to one chapter in the whole audiobook, chapter 2 tells
Okay.
no, I'm not telling you to do that because I'm going to tell you right now. But the chapter 2 tells the entire story of how I met my husband and the circumstances of meeting this person and how we took, and how it all played out. But in a nutshell, it's one of those things where, as I was saying before, you never really want to check because what kind of person would you
Yeah.
be? The very things that don't feel right to you, you just swallow and you think, I guess this is what it's like to be with someone who has very little time left. And as annoying as they're being, and I mean, there were elements of this woman's life that were like, she's asking so much. There's not one moment where she's ever like, guys, you go out, go to the movies, don't worry about me, just have a good night out. I'll be fine. I'll see you tomorrow. Like there was never that, which I don't know, knock on wood. I've never had an illness like that, but I know that I would want those around me who are spending time caring for me, who also I would love them enough. So there was an element about her that just bugged everybody. So 6 of us went to go see Manhattan Murder Mystery, which is all about people like it's like Only Murders in the Building, really, the inspiration behind it. But it's all about this couple who live next door and they sort of uncover a mystery domestically in their own home. They're not detectives. And we went to a restaurant afterwards and I don't know how it happened, but we started talking and comparing notes about this person's nurse that all of us have clearly met. And they're like, no, I never met her nurse. Well, you're paying her. Wait, how did you pay Tanya if you never met her? It's like, I thought you were paying Tanya. So we started to compare notes on a bunch of things that didn't make sense. She had lost her sight in her right eye, but she was always wiping both sides of her glasses. I don't know why I had to demonstrate that.
Oh my God.
And so we started to compare notes and then we were like, guys, this is horrible, but let's just like tonight, let's just do a little bit of like, you call her mom and you find out whether she ever really played the violin because she lied about being a virtuoso violinist. That's the other thing. They all have sort of delusions of grandeur, which is another thing that Elizabeth Finch had. Like there's this grandiosity that goes along with, I mean, it's the balls, it's crazy. But in one day, in a matter of 8 hours, we were able to get confirmation that every single thing we'd been told was not true. And we confronted her and said, we can never speak to you again. And we put her in jail.
Oh my God.
She went to jail for 2 months. Because we made a case of all the money that we had paid to her, and she had extorted that money based on a fabrication. And there's a law depending on the city you're in. Like we were able to file charges in Hollywood, but we couldn't in Beverly Hills. So we filed charges that that we were the victims of fraud.
Well, yeah.
Oh my God, this is giving me heebie-jeebies. That there's so many, you think it's just one person that's like this. And the fact that there's 3 stories happening, it's
crazy. And anyway, there's more to it than all that, but I'll spare you. But
we should have had you on for the liar episode, Dan.
I know.
Oh,
I know. The
Oh,
liars
boy.
and the deep lies they tell.
well, there is a Christmas movie to lift our spirits.
There is a Christmas movie. Lindsay Lohan, Kristen Chenoweth, Tim
Yes.
Meadows, Ian Harding, Netflix, November 27th. Really
Perfect.
fun.
Oh my gosh.
And
I'm
we
putting
need
it
to
on my
laugh.
Christmas
And
movie
we
list.
need to love.
I'm such a nerd in our family. We print the holiday movie list and we laminate it and we put it on the coffee table, like
Oh,
by the
that's
family
awesome.
TV. So we never or we're never without an inspiration or idea of what to watch during the
Well,
holiday
this one's
season.
really unique. It's not like your cookie cutter rom-com, which is one thing I love about
I
it.
know. You know what? That's the most fun too. But they actually weirdly become like they become a new normal and like, they'll become a classic. My 8-year old,
Yes.
by the way, decorated her room for Christmas before Halloween. So we're really in the spirit.
Oh my God. I
Good.
can't wait. Dan, this is like right up my alley. I love it so much.
Good.
I live for all these movies. I cannot wait to watch.
I
Well,
love it.
I'm
All right.
glad.
Well, Dan, we love you. Please come on again soon.
And
Whenever you ask, you first of all, you guys are stunning. You both look so beautiful. We're on Zoom, and I know you're in your homes and whatever, but you both look so amazing. I can't wait to see you in person.
well, I
When
don't
that
have
is.
any of these awards you have behind me, but I
I
need
know. I
those.
know. I know. We
This,
didn't even talk about the
This is
awards.
my Zoom room, but here, that's talk about that's humble brag.
no, no, I would have, by the way, I'd have it even closer, Dan. They're a
By the
little
way,
too far away.
little
Yeah, I'd
known
be
fact, do you
holding
know
them.
little known fact, do you know that I have an Emmy?
For
I'm not
what?
surprised. I'm not surprised.
What do you have an Emmy for? Who did you
I'm
steal
not
it from,
surprised.
Capshaw?
Camilla's face was just like,
Ugh.
I'm not
what?
surprised. Tell us, Jess.
Jessica, what do you have an Emmy for?
I'm gonna surprise you and put it in the background of my set one
Yeah.
day.
You
What is
should.
it?
I'm just gonna tell you I have an Emmy, and I'll tell you another episode for what.
All
I'm gonna
right,
Google.
fine.
I'm Googling. All right.
So
I love you
annoying.
guys. Failure to
Okay, we
Friday.
love you.
Check it out on my
Yes.
Instagram.
We will. Bye, Dan.
And
I love
Meg,
you
a
guys.
lab coat, please, for
Yes,
Dr.
lab coat. I
Dan.
would love
Stat.
to.
Stat. Okay, Dan. Mwah.
Bye.
Sending you all the
Bye, guys.
love. Bye.
Bye.
Wow, he had a juicy story at the end. We couldn't let it stop. And he knows Finchy.
I
Oof.
know. I know.
Well, we love Dan, and we love a Christmas movie, and he's part of the family forever. And
He
I
is.
didn't know that he knew your mommy too.
Like, well, she's another one. Just you don't know
I
where you're
know
gonna
your
find her.
mom. I know. Yeah. Where are we gonna find her?
If I had $1 for every time someone came up to me and said
We
that
know
your
your
mom
mom.
did this or your mom did that, and I'm
Uh-uh.
always always makes me so proud.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. All right.
It's been a delight to be with you and Dan. I'm gonna go watch that holiday movie.
Yeah, and I am such a Lindsay Lohan fan.
Our
And
little
she looks
secret.
incredible. I'm rooting for Lindsay. She doesn't even need rooting for. She's already doing
I
it.
know. No, she's back. She's back.
She's
All right, I'm
fully
gonna go
back.
watch Our Little Secret, and I'll see you later.
Okay, let's call it
The
the end
end
of
of
the
the
episode.